Hi everyone, thanks for joining me to take a look at our 105 deliverability training. This is the fifth in a series of Getting Started trainings. This training is only held every 2 to 3 months, but we have monthly revolving trainings that cover things like data, actions, emails, and mobile messaging. Be sure to join those. Let's go over how this training will go. First, we'll cover what deliverability even is, and what good deliverability looks like. Next, we'll go over some strategies to improve deliverability. So what is deliverability? Imagine this. You spend hours crafting the perfect email, it's reviewed by your colleagues, you picked a button, have a great picture, and it ends up in the spam folder. You want to avoid this as much as possible. Deliverability is your email arriving in the inbox of the recipient as intended, not the spam folder. In order to get our emails delivered, we have to understand why emails go into the spam folder in the first place. The old definition of spam used to be, is this email unrequested? The new definition being used by email providers asks, is this email likely to be engaged with? There's a really big reason for this shift. With more and more spam coming, in recent years, email providers had to improve the definition of spam. About 85% of all email sent every day is malicious spam. As the amount of spam has increased over time, email providers had to get smarter about how they define spam. Spammers set the standard. Your emails need to be doing at least as well as the spammers, or you're going to spam too. So if email providers are now using engagement to see if something is spam, what does that look like? This looks like certain key positive and negative signals that you can track through these metrics. Some of these you can see, others you can't. For example, you can't see things like how much time people spend reading your email, do they scroll, or do they immediately delete or archive it. These do factor into deliverability, but you can't see this. You can see the signals you're seeing on the screen. You can see positive engagement, like opens, clicks, and replies, and you can also see negative engagement, like spam complaints, bounces, or lack of actions on links that you send out. Unsubscribes are a special kind of signal that aren't necessarily bad, but we'll circle back to this one. Now let's take a look at how your reputation with email providers is determined. They look at 3 main things. One of these you can't control, and that's your IP reputation. This is the IP address you send from. IP address identifies the computers or servers that you're on. On Action Network and most other platforms, every partner or client will send from the same IP pool. You can't control this reputation, but Action Network maintains great IPs that perform better than most of the industry. You do have an effect on the next 2. Email providers look at the content you send. This content includes the templates you use. They can track how your emails normally look, or if you're using a different template. They read the code as well. For example, many spammers don't write very good code and will leave unopened or unnecessary HTML tags in the code. Make sure you know how to code if you're using HTML. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I mentioned HTML tags or them being unopened or unnecessary, you probably shouldn't be using code. Now, they also track your links. You should never use bit.lys or tiny URLs. Spammers love these, so email providers hate them. Always include the full URL. You can link the URL in the text or through a button so they don't see the entire string in the email. Finally, you have control over your domain reputation. This means DKIM. DKIM proves to email providers that you are who you say you are. It's the single best thing you can do to immediately improve deliverability. We mentioned this in our email training, and we're going to go in more depth with it here. It's that important. At this point, you may be wondering where you stand right now. We have this chart here to gauge where you're at. Green means excellent, yellow is average, and red is poor. If your group is in the yellow for most stats, that's totally fine. That's where most groups on or off of Action Network are. Remember when looking at these stats, we aren't measuring if your open rate is necessarily good, just that your emails are probably ending up in an inbox. This slide is not the definitive good or bad, and it really depends on your program. Stats can also tell you how your recipients are reacting to that mail. This is an example stats page of an email. Opens are very high, but as you can see, there's a lot of machine opens. That's not a bad thing, it just means a lot of people use Apple devices. Clicks are low, but this is a fundraising email, so that's to be expected. Negative signals are low too. As you can see, stats are mixed, and if you only send fundraising emails, it's going to be hard to acquire positive signals like actions and clicks from a variety of people. You want people to feel included in your email list, even if they don't have the capacity to donate to you. Because engagement like opens, clicks, and actions are what help you determine your reputation and can get you in or keep you out of inboxes, let's go over ways to drive engagement. You can do a survey, ask them to sign a birthday card, or even just say, click here for a video of cute puppies at the end of an email. Now, you do want to be careful with some of these. It can be considered in poor taste if you do some meaningless petitions or polls like, please confirm your vaccination status, confirm your flight, do you support the president, things like this. You want to make sure that you're giving people the opportunity to take meaningful or relevant actions in your emails. Now that we've gone over what deliverability is and the importance of engagement, let's look at ways we can improve our program. First, and most importantly, sender authentication, which means DKIM. This validates to email providers that you, your organization, are the ones sending this email. Inbox providers verify that the sender is who they say they are. This only works with domains you own. It can't work through a Gmail, Yahoo, ProtonMail, etc. account. You should really buy your own domain. They can be bought for as little as $10 to $20 a year. Everyone watching this training should enable DKIM and SPF. DKIM stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail. And this links your domain to the emails you send and prevents people from impersonating you. SPF stands for Sender Policy Framework. It defines which IP addresses you can send emails from. Reach out to Action Network and we'll send you the records that you need for this. If you're a large organization with a sophisticated email program, you should also consider link branding. This rewrites all your links so they go back to you, not your provider. Reach out to us for more info on this. Next, you want good opt-in policies and practices. Let's look at this email collection scale. Your opt-in process is a good predictor of future engagement. Think about how you subscribe people to your list. When designing an action that subscribes them, will this person remember how they ended up on your list when they receive the next email? Going from left to right, we go from really bad for deliverability to great. If you bought your list or just downloaded voter files, it's not only a violation of Action Network's opt-in policies, it's terrible for your deliverability. If using a range of acquisition tactics, ask yourself if these people are expecting an email from you. If they signed a petition while you were tabling, they are. If you got this email list from another organization, they aren't. Best practice is to enable affirmative opt-in buttons on all forums that you sponsor and create a welcome series. I'll talk a bit more about what a welcome series is in a minute. Now, no matter how simple or advanced your program is, you have a bunch of options for segmentation. For advanced programs, you can build a bunch of different infrastructures with different domains and IP addresses and from and reply to lines. However, for everyone else on this call, we can use much simpler tools to get to the same place. First, send to your most engaged people first. Then, tailor your content based on what people actually want to see or how they joined your list. Also, plan your sending calendar with days off or with different audiences for each day. You can use the email engagement tool you see here to target only people who have opened, clicked, taken actions, or subscribed in the last X number of days. Now, if you're doing this, you should also create a welcome series, which I just mentioned a minute ago. This is super useful for all organizations, but especially folks who do a lot of joint actions. It can be off-putting if the first email someone gets from you is an ask for money. A welcome series allows you to introduce your organization with the right tone. You can remind people how they ended up on your list. You can say, remember that action you signed? We helped with that. This can be as short or as long as you need it to be. And this is a great place to see what people's interest areas are and how often they want to hear from you. Give people the chance to tell you directly what they want from you. You can then use tags to track this and include them in relevant emails moving forward. Here's an example of what a welcome series looks like. You can see that after people are subscribed, we wait a day, and then we check to see if they subscribed via joint action, or maybe they signed up to volunteer, or maybe they signed up via their website. And depending on how they came through our list, we'll send them different types of emails. A good welcome email really makes algorithms love you. Having a good experience when someone is first joining your list is a great predictor of future engagement. Again, make sure you're catering to your acquisition source. You always want to make sure you're introducing your organization, your director, your candidate, and explain why they should care about it. And finally, you should always include at least 2 unsubscribe links in the email. Unsubscribes are not bad. Unsubscribes indicate to an email provider that you are a legitimate sender, this person just doesn't want to get your emails. When someone hits the spam button, this indicates that emails from your organization are causing harm and you should be flagged by the email provider. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So as you're welcoming people to your list, make it really easy for them to unsubscribe if they don't want to get your emails. That way they don't hit spam later on down the road. Finally, just as important as who you send to is who you don't send to. Reactivating unengaged people and sunsetting them when they still don't engage is necessary for good list hygiene. A sunset policy is an important tool for any email program as it defines a point at which an unengaged email address will no longer receive messages. We highly recommend sunsetting people after 180 days without engagement. That's only 6 months. These quotes from Hotmail, a huge email provider, and SendGrid, the company Action Network uses to send out all your emails, really highlight this point. Hotmail said that sending to recipients who haven't engaged in 6 months is a kiss of death for your reputation. And what we've heard from SendGrid is that the number of messages sent to long-term, non-engaged people is the primary factor in reputation. You should really not send to unengaged people. 180 days is the magic number here. On Action Network, we make it easy to do this with the reactivation series. This ladder checks to see if people have been inactive and tries to get them active again over a series of emails sent over a few weeks. If they still don't engage, they're unsubscribed. You can be very upfront with this. For example, United We Dream sent out this email to inactives telling them that they'd be unsubscribed and giving them a button to click if they wanted to stay on the list. This process doesn't need to be super complicated. To remove people who are currently inactive, you should pull a report and exclude people who have engaged in the last 180 days. This group of engaged people should not be in this report, so they will be excluded so we only get our inactive, unengaged people. Next, we'll go ahead and run this report. And once this report has finished calculating, we can use a mass operation to unsubscribe these folks from my list. I know this hurts, but remember, if you're sending emails to unengaged audiences, you're only hurting your deliverability. This brings us to the end of today's training. I know I threw a bunch of info at you, so let's recap some key takeaways. First, the key to good deliverability is engagement. A smaller, more engaged list is much, much better than an unengaged, massive list. Give people the chance to click and take action in each email. This helps with engagement. If you're having issues, shrink your audience. Go from 180-day actives to 90. If that doesn't help, go down to 60. Sometimes going down to 7 to 14-day actives may be necessary, but shrinking the audience will always help. Finally, sunset people after 180 days of inactivity. Sending to unengaged people can only hurt your list. This is the end of today's training. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, please reach out to support@actionnetwork.org, and we'd love to help you out with your group's deliverability. Thanks for watching.